Hello, this is take two of this because I wasn't really satisfied with how the first one went. It was really bad. I felt like I was rambling. I think I'm gonna ramble more today, but we're gonna try a second shot. And also, I had a probiotic creamer in my coffee last time I drank it, and it just ruined my take because I was mad about it for about a clean 20 minutes because it ruined my coffee, and I usually drink it black. So, in case anybody wants a probiotic creamer bag for free, it's coconut and vanilla. And it says 30 servings, but obviously I had a serving, so you could have the 29 servings for free. Just let me know. Okay, so I'm dressed in a suit to pitch an idea. And I'm not going to delay it any further. I wrote a script. It took me about 10 years. But, I mean, I wasn't writing for 10 years. It just took me that long because I procrastinate. I started when I was a high school kid. And it's just getting hotter in here because I'm wearing a jacket and there's no AC in this garage. But I did a lot of research. I drew maps of the United Kingdom and where I would put my fictional versions of Camelot and Avalon and so on. I studied how women in particular were treated during the 5th century, during the medieval period in general. I studied the different cultures and indigenous tribes that belonged to that island of the time. And I put in a lot of common tropes like jousting and puppet shows, and it was just a lot of fat that's not in the current script. And I deleted all of it. I went through something about like 5-6 years ago, and rather I put myself through something, and I deleted everything I ever did. I forgot everything I ever researched, and I took the story into a different direction. The story is about King Arthur, and everybody knows who King Arthur is. If you don't know anything about fantasy, you know who King Arthur is. I decided to split the focus into 3 main characters, and they're all very personal to me, but I adapted them to be their own versions in the script. And the characters I'm talking about are Morgana Le Fay, the Witch Queen, Queen Guinevere of Camelot, and King Arthur of Camelot. Morgana Le Fay, the Witch Queen, has gone through a multitude of various iterations throughout each and every adaptation. They've done everything with her. They have made her anything from a goddess or a fairy that has been of great help to King Arthur and his knights, to even a witch or a sorcerer that also happens to be the pettiest bitch on the planet. She does it all. She does everything from minorly inconveniencing the heroes to even gloating over Arthur's death. Even if she has nothing to do with it at all, she'll take credit for it. I thought she was a very interesting character. I wanted her to be completely despicable, somewhat sympathetic, but also irredeemable in a sense. I feel like I poured a lot of my own vengeful insecurities into this character. I almost predicted and wrote out things that I would do, or my personality if I didn't choose to heal at all from any sort of trauma. Later in the writing process, she became the embodiment of my need to punish myself emotionally and physically. Both the actress that played the Witch Queen and me worked very closely and carefully on constructing this character. I couldn't be more proud of the way it turned out. She worked very diligently and hard to become the character, and she was immediately drawn just by reading her lines. I mean, her first language is Slovene, but she worked very hard to learn the Spanish lines Let me stop glazing so I could take off this jacket really quick because it's hot. Working to get Morgana Le Fay right has been one of the most rewarding experiences of my creative career so far. And it taught me a lot of lessons for everything, really, as an actor, as a writer, as a director. And I can't wait to carry that forward. If I do go forward, I mean, I want to go forward, but yeah. The character of Camelot's queen has had it rough, to put it mildly. She's also quite the paradox as well. I mean, during her introduction, she is spoken to almost as a divine being. Much like John Milton describes Eve, her original Welsh name is Gwyn Hwyvar, which means Lady of the Island. She is described as the most beautiful woman in this story, the most well suited to become Queen of Camelot. But she's all that until she isn't. She commits the cardinal sin of infidelity. And do the authors really love punishing her? I mean, by extension, it's King Arthur punishing her, right? So that makes me question a lot of the morality and judgment of the character of King Arthur. Our titular character is supposed to be this 5th century Superman, this paragon of justice and knightly virtue, and mercy is one of those virtues. Judging from the punishments that Queen Guinevere was sentenced to in a lot of the stories, mercy was never really afforded to Camelot's queen. I mean, there's a multitude of different punishments throughout the story. She has been decapitated, burned at the stake, coerced to publicly confess her infidelity to both the serfdom and the royal court. And sometimes she's even sent to a convent to live the rest of her life as a nun to repent for her sin. No one even tried talking to her. Not her husband, not her lover, not her father, no one. King Arthur was a man that was loved and revered by his people, but it never really showed him reciprocating that love back to his people and back to his wife, where it could have been the most important moment. He refused. He didn't take her up on it. He didn't try to understand her. And while marriages today are titanically different from marriages in the 5th century or aristocratic marriages, I did research. I read a few articles on why specifically married women cheat. And on a lot of those articles, the top reason was the emotional absence of any affirmations or validations given from the person they chose to live the rest of their lives with. Who knows what she saw in Lancelot? If it was just like a physical fling. I mean, that also raises the question, was Guinevere and Arthur physically intimate? Was she missing that? Was she missing an emotional support system? Was she missing something physical? We don't really know her side of the story. I mean, the whole Vulgate cycle where a bunch of horny Frenchmen wrote Guinevere and they wanted like a little affair in there that didn't make sense. But I mean, there's nuance to affairs, right? There's whole stories behind there's whole stories behind affairs and why they happen. And I didn't really see anyone trying to understand her side of the story. So, knowing all this, I decided that Guinevere was tragically a very one-note character, and I wanted to write my own version of a queen, and I just decided to make a new character from the ground up, gave her a complete facelift. I wrote her to my liking. I wanted her to feel regal, powerful, to command respect and authority, to feel like she belongs as the Queen of Camelot, to be an emotional foundation for Arthur. and the very foundation that Camelot itself depends on. But I also wrote her to be a pious woman. Christianity, huge deal. As a Latino, I grew up Roman Catholic. I don't practice anymore, but I will admit that in almost every religion you find, there is always beautiful messaging throughout different belief systems and their texts and their respective texts. And I wanted Guinevere to embody the type of person that almost everyone could admire and look up to. There was no better actor to play this version of Guinevere. She didn't just read the lines, she gave life to them. When she delivered her voice lines, you could hear her anger, her sadness, her tenderness, and the commanding authority that I needed from this version of Guinevere. Throughout the process of collaborating with this actor and running the voice work with her, I really grew to appreciate how much work and how careful I was in crafting the character of Guinevere, because she did embody everything I set her out to embody, and she felt powerful, she felt queenly. And out of the three main characters, she, like I said, was completely original. The only thing she shares from the character I adapted her from is the name, and I couldn't be more proud of how the queen came out. King Arthur, the 5th century Superman, quite literally the man, the myth, the legend, the guy with the giant, sword. He has it all. But you already know him. And you're not here to learn about the literary history and the significant relevance of King Arthur. There are much more well-read and well-researched essays, video essays, and articles about King Arthur, and I'm definitely not here to give you that history either. I'm just here to tell you that I wrote my version of the character. And why did I gender bend him? Did I make King Arthur woke? Am I writing a hyper-feminist piece of propaganda? Do I value women more than men? No, and yeah, maybe. I grew up struggling, trying to define what a man is, and what it's supposed to be, and what does it mean. My biological father was killed before I was born. I was raised by my stepfather, who was very abusive emotionally and physically, and I grew up trying to hide my sadness by yelling and throwing shit around, because that was the primary example I had. I thought he would like me more if I was more like him, if I mirrored him in some ways. I'm not going to pretend that there wasn't good times with him. My love for Western movies still exists because he introduced me to Tombstone. I fucking love cowboy movies. But the abuse continued until I personally reached my breaking point when I excommunicated him. Because of this tumultuous relationship I had at home, I struggled my entire childhood trying to find a male role model that I could fully look up to and fully admire. There are lots of women in my family that I do fully look up to and fully admire, but I felt the need to look for a male role model, and it was very difficult. When my nana was diagnosed with dementia, my nana being my great-grandmother, I don't remember how old I was. I think I was 21, 25, somewhere around there. Just a few years after excommunicating my stepfather, I remember my mom and I taking her to a doctor's appointment. It was a weekly thing. Sometimes I took her by myself. But my mom was there this time, and she was in the driver's seat. I was in the back seat, and Nana was in the passenger seat. And we were on our way there, and there's a cemetery. And I hear it. I hear my mom say it from under her breath, "That's where your dad is buried." I didn't respond to it. I pretended like I didn't hear, because I knew it still hurts. But I just took a mental note of it. And a few maybe a week or two after that, I decided to go by myself and not tell anybody that I went. So I make it to the cemetery. I go to the front desk, I give his name, they give me his plot number, and I go and find it. And when I find it, I find an empty patch of grass. No headstone, no tombstone. I look around, find the gravekeeper. I ask him, I'm like, hey, is this the right number? Am I at the right spot? And he said, yeah, you're at the right spot. I stood there, and then I decided to sit down, and then I started crying. And it felt like I was crying for some kid I knew, because at this very moment in time, I knew I am now older than he will ever be. And for most of my childhood, I've denied his existence. I've denied that I'm a junior. I've denied that he was ever a part of me in any way because of my continuing loyalty towards my stepfather, because I really wanted him to like me more. I spent the vast majority of my childhood almost ashamed that I was tied to this man in some way, ashamed that I shared a name with him, and on that day I was the only one that knew his name in the cemetery. Things were very heavy back then. I was going through a lot. My nana was going through dementia. My stepfather suffered a stroke that made him bedridden, and because of that, I refused to help out the family with him in any way. I refused to help out my mom. I refused to help out my brothers with him, but I agreed to take on the responsibility of taking my nana to her doctor's visits and making sure she's fed and all that. But even still, there was a lot of people in my family that would call me an ungrateful son, a piece of shit, everything. Everything was on me. And maybe a week after the cemetery visit, I just decided to drink. I had a bit of a drinking problem back then. I would wake up with whiskey, go throughout the entire day with whiskey, and I would go to sleep with whiskey. It was a time in my life. And that night, I decided to grab my favorite bottle of scotch at the time. Now, the smell of it makes me gag. But it's a 1.7 liter bottle of this blended scotch that I loved, and I just decided to drink all of it by myself, because that is a very smart decision. I'm usually a pretty careful person when it comes to consequences and all that, but that night I just kind of disregarded everything, really. And I drank. I couldn't even tell you what I did. I just know that I walked in the garage the next day and it was a complete fucking mess. Almost everything was destroyed. My laptop was destroyed. Like, it was a mess. I can't even tell you what happened. But I do remember my mom finding me. I was in the middle of the garage, just slouched on an office chair with throw up all over my chest. And she woke me up, got me to bed, and I got emotional. I confessed to her that I went to the cemetery and all that, and I went to sleep. Well, got cleaned up and then went to sleep. And I woke up the next day, realized what I did, what a fucking mess I created here. And then I had a thought just pop into my head that really changed how I think about things. And I thought to myself, what if my mom found me dead that day? Because that was an extreme amount of alcohol, and it could have been quite easy for a lot of people just to die of alcohol poisoning. So I reconsidered a lot of things. Being the man of the house doesn't matter when you're bedridden. It doesn't matter when your family doesn't want to take care of you, and it definitely doesn't matter when you're dead. I finally realized that I was pretending. I don't know what a fucking man is. I've been pretending my entire life. And that's okay, because I realized that that doesn't really matter anymore. That's probably not why you came here, to listen to my sob story. I am dressed in a suit. I am telling you what my script is about. You came here for a pitch, and the pitch is this. I'm currently making a King Arthur movie where it's not about finding the Holy Grail or swinging Excalibur around and killing a dragon. I'm trying to make a person be better. That's the pitch. I'm really bad at this. And another thing I'm really bad at, something I've struggled with my entire life, and that is asking for help. Here is the specific help I need and the specific help I could think of at this moment. I need live actors. I would love live actors to physically embody the characters I wrote. I would love to collaborate with actors. I need people that have experience with wrestling and kickboxing and even sword combat. Any type of fight choreography will be really appreciated, because I want to collaborate further on my fight scenes. So I need live actors, because I'm just going to film everything in front of a green screen. And yeah, that's my plan, because there's no way I could afford costume design, and I can't take us to an actual castle or like green open fields. I can't afford like a battalion's worth of horses. I can't afford CGI. So yeah, I just plan on filming in front of a green screen. Alright, another thing I need. Artists and animators. Anyone that is interested in, well, I mean, animation and specifically character design. I don't know if I mentioned this before. I want this film to be completely animated, but there's an asterisk. I want it rotoscoped. Why do I need the live actor? Why do I need the live actors and the green screens? Is because I want to film and block everything with physical actors. I want to choreograph and film the fights with physical actors, and I want artists to draw over the frames of the film. I don't want every frame drawn over. Probably every other or every third frame, but I do want it rotoscoped. That's my big ambition here. And as far as art style, that's my cat eating. And as far as art style, I am thinking Art Nouveau. I'm not married to the idea. I know it probably won't translate well to animation, but I do very much like the bright color gradients and the thicker outlines. Cinematographers. I need people that are good behind the camera. I need people that know how to storyboard, that are willing to storyboard with me, and the community. I am asking for community help. I have spent the last maybe 5 years completely producing this by myself. Musicians, voice actors. I got a lot done by myself. I got almost all the music done. I got the vast majority of voice lines completely recorded. And that has been done solely by me paying for it. And I work paycheck to paycheck. Whatever I could afford, I throw it into the movie. And I just kind of want to speed up that process. So, I am asking for producers for this movie. I am planning on setting up a Patreon or a GoFundMe before the release of this video. And I am also in a situation where I can't really give money to other people. If you're not comfortable with financially supporting me, this is going to sound corny as fuck, but please like and share the video. Share it to people who are interested in film. Share it to people who would help me in any way, share it to everybody you know. The more people that see it, the better my chances are. And that is probably the biggest thing that you could do for me. All right, yeah, that's my pitch. I'm pretty sure I rambled enough. And I'm pretty sure you're probably tired of watching the video. But, thank you for finishing the video. I appreciate it very much. And, yeah, bye.